Hi, welcome to another Derek Burleson Art. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today I'm not going to talk so much about or show a painting. I'm going to talk about some of the brushes we use. And I'm going to try to work this into a series. And I'm going to kind of start out with the brushes I use, and then I'm going to break down the brushes. For this first video, I think we're going to concentrate on the script liner brush, or the liner brush. A lot of people struggle with it. How do you use it? What do you use it for? But not just that, but what's the price I should pay? Really can't tell you that, but cheap to expensive. What's some of the pros and cons of both of these? So if you stay tuned, this is what we're gonna get into today. Just a short video, and hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's start out here with what I use. All right, so I have bought all kinds of brushes. I have experimented with lots of brushes, but normally I get it down to, there's some paintings I may only use a couple of different brushes. But for the most part, I think this is what I use the most. This is what I would carry around in my arsenal wherever I go to paint. I have my Hake brush. I think this is a 2-inch Hake brush, really fluffy. It's for putting backgrounds on your painting, getting paint on the painting, doing underpaintings, things like that. Then I got about I think it's an 1.5-inch brush. I think it's a 2-inch brush, I'm sorry. This, I believe, is a 2.5, maybe a 3-inch brush. But a lot fluffier. And then this one is for kind of getting in and doing the same thing as this, but maybe fluffing some clouds or something like that. And then I just have a bigger flat brush. But there's a few more brushes in this. I might have 2 or 3 different sizes of this. I like to call them a chisel edge brush, because when you get the paint in there and you get it loaded, it'll just make a nice chiseled edge, almost like a knife blade. It's nice for doing all kinds of things, getting paint on the canvas. Filbert brush. It's kind of like a flat brush, but it's rounded. Great for doing clouds, doing mist, making haze. It's a really great brush. And then I have what I call a dagger brush. Love this brush. It's for putting in, I can do it to make trees, tree branches, tree trunks. I can use it to put in grasses. Really a versatile brush. And an angle brush. Angle brush is perfect for putting foliage on trees. I can actually dab it and put foliage on trees. Use it to cut in. So it's a very versatile brush. And then we got the fan brush. And again, I got a couple of different sizes of each of these brushes. Fan brush is the same thing. Perfect. You can use it to make clouds. You can put in grasses. You can put in tree limb or leaves. You can use it for almost anything. And then we have a little rounded brush. I got 2 or 3 rounded brushes. And then I've got, this is kind of a bigger script liner brush. I've got, as you can see, that's another script liner brush. And then I got a script liner brush here. I got several of these, and we'll go through those here in just a minute. And then, of course, my palette knife, mixing paints, putting mountains. You can paint a whole painting. When I'm working with acrylics, I always like to have my little spray bottle of water, and we'll get into all that later, other videos. But right now, this is going to be breaking it down to what kind of brush should I get, what kind of brushes should I get, affordable, cheap, or expensive. So stick with me and we're going to get right into that. Okay, let's get right into our script liner brushes. I told you I've kind of got several. These are called dagger brushes. They're kind of on a 45-degree angle or an angle, and they really have a nice sharp chiseled edge. You put paint on it, you can use it for different things, and I'll show you here in just a minute. Got another little kind of rounded brush. As you can see, it's kind of, I don't know if you can see the flaring at the top. No matter how much I wet it, it doesn't really retake its shape. Here's another little script liner brush. This is a longer brush. As you can see, it's got some a nice point. It's long. It's kind of bent at the end, if you can see it. I'll explain that in a minute. Then a little bit bigger script liner brush. It's got a nice point on it. Another little liner brush, really frayed. Put a little water on the end, and it kind of goes back. It's still got just a little, I don't know if you can see, but it does still have a little bit of fraying. Another dagger brush, really in bad shape. I kind of done that. It's got some paint in it. I used it. I was painting and laid it down and kind of forgot about it. And, well, you know what happens, and it got paint in there. So it's got to get a good cleaning, but I don't know it'll ever come back. I might just use it as kind of a dagger brush. I don't, or I mean, sorry, a filbert brush, but I don't know yet. So anyway, what do these brushes do? And we'll get right into that. Let me show you. Okay, here's a painting that I done, just finished here 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't remember. You might have seen that I posted it. I actually have a video on it. But this is a perfect example of a painting that I used a script liner brush, dagger brush, various little round brushes, things like that on. So this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You know, not only can you get in here and do some fine detail or doing your grasses, put in your little fence. Dagger brush worked perfectly for this. I could get in some long stroke brushes here and even some finer ones. So the dagger brush was perfect for that. And I used some finer ones, get in here and really work into some of these little areas. That's what it was perfect for. Now, you can see this one. I don't know if you can see it, but again, I put water on a little bit ago and it's frayed already. The reason for that is a lot of different things. One, it's a cheaper bristle brush, and this one is. It's just a cheaper brush. And that's kind of the problem. One of the negatives of or the cons of a cheaper brush. What can happen is the more you use it, the glue's not as good inside some of the cheaper brushes. So what'll happen is you'll start losing some of your bristles. They'll start to come out. So when you start to form it back together, it doesn't have all of its bristles. Other things is, see, they've got the cheap little, maybe a synthetic. It kind of just goes out, doesn't come back in. Kind of like, not like a natural hairbrush. It kind of holds its form a little more. And that's what I'd say one of the biggest pros of a little more expensive brush is they hold their form. You know, you can do kind of different things. And then you can kind of flatten them out like that. Then I go into a little bit of water and I can take them right back to its shape. So a little bit more expensive brush. And you can see that the fibers on it or the bristles are a little more supple and they just stay together more. So that's where I like to use a little bit more expensive brush. And expensive doesn't have to be $500, $50. You know, you can find good brushes for all prices. You can find brushes from as little as $1 to a brush up to, again, hundreds of dollars if you want to spend on different brushes. A good, I think, $10, $15, $20 brush will do you good for most of the things you're doing. How long they last kind of depends on what you're doing, what kind of work you're doing. Could last you one painting, could last you several paintings, could last you a lifetime. This one, you see what happened, it all got frayed. Well, one thing, I think I was using it as I was scrubbing, which I shouldn't have, and kind of ruined it. So and this is it wasn't a cheap brush. It's not real expensive, but it wasn't a cheap brush, but not taking care of them. So here we are. What brush, what should I buy? Should I buy an expensive brush? Should I buy a cheap brush? Again, I have bought several brushes, and I can show you over here what I mean by several brushes. See all those brushes? Yeah, and there's more back there. I've got them everywhere. They I've experimented and I've told you the ones I usually use. I did just get this. Let me get this little thing here. I bought it the other day. I haven't even used it yet. But what you do is it's got a little area. There's some water in here. You clean your brush, get all that. And you don't want that mucky water in there. You just push this button, drains it, more water comes out. You even got a little place for your brushes. I'm gonna do something on that. I bought it the other day. I saw it. It was on Amazon, and I'll put a link when I do the video on it to see if I like it, and then I'll put the link into it where I got it. But anyway, back to our brushes. What is the ideal brush for me, or the cost, I should say, not ideal brush? As you can see, I have tons of brushes, so just kind of pick what you want. I would say go in and find maybe an art set of brushes for not necessarily a beginning painter, but for a painter, acrylic, something that does acrylics, oils, maybe even watercolors, and see what you like, or a price that you can afford. That's the best brushes for you, what you can afford. Because sure, if you can go buy $100 brushes, sure, they're going to be good brushes and they're probably going to last you for a lifetime. I can afford $5 brushes. Okay, then experiment with some $5 brushes. See if you go, yeah, that's not worth it. So if I'm replacing $5 brushes, 4 or 5 a year because they don't last very long, then maybe look at a $25 brush, something like that, and maybe that'll last you a lot longer. It's your preference, your taste. Like I said, my dad was a commercial artist, and I remember him having brushes, a single brush back in the 70s or 80s, early 80s, that cost 50, 60, $70 a brush. What in the world? I can't even imagine. I've been online and looked at some brushes that you can find a set of 2 or 3 brushes for $700, $800. Is that worth buying? I have no idea. I'm not buying them. So just kind of pick what you can afford. It's like anything. When shooting archery, people ask, well, what bow do you get? Well, get the best that you can afford, at least starting out, because you'll be a lot happier with it. They're more expensive bows, or they're better made. Same thing with paintbrushes for the most part, and you might disagree with me. This is just my personal. I haven't done any research. I haven't went in. I can't give you facts and figures on this brush lasts this long. I could do that. I'm just trying to give people who are getting into painting how I got into painting, and if they want to do something, what can they do? And if I just had to go the bottom line, I would say get what you can afford. Same thing on paints. We'll do some more on paints. What kind of paints do you use? Well, it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm teaching my classes, I have to buy paint by the gallon. I get a little cheaper paint because it's I'm not going to go with a heavy-bodied, more expensive paint or something like that where it's just a class. But if I'm painting something for someone, a commission piece or something I'm going to sell, I want to go a little bit more, a paint that I know will last for a long time. Today's age, I will tell you that Liquitex is a great paint. I use it all the time. I've used other paints. I like Liquitex. I like the the firm-bodied Liquitex or heavy-bodied. I like the thin. I use gesso. Whatever you want to use, just make sure it's a good paint that will last. It won't really fade or yellow on you, something like that. Same thing with canvases. You can find cheap canvases and they'll start to unstretch after a while. They may not even be. Just make sure it's been primed. A lot of times, depending on what I'm doing, I'll put 3, 4, 5 coats of gesso on my canvas, sand them down between each coat so I get a more smooth surface. So anyway, I'm going to say this first video I've done, let me see. When you go to get a brush, today's was about the liner brush, script liner brush. Go in and just find a brush that suits you. If you want to get a $1 script liner brush to try it, by all means do that. If you want to get a $20 script liner brush, by all means do that. But I would say just kind of get what you think you can afford and afford to lose. If if it's not a good one, you gotta get another one. So remember, just experiment. And I think you'll be happy with that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. We're going to do some more videos on different brushes, different techniques, how to use the brushes, and our water cleaner, or water cleaner, that's twice I've said that, our brush cleaner over here, you can dump the water, flush it, and I want to do it. I want to do a video on that to see how well I like it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Have a great week, and I will see you on the next video.